This mayor race is really heating up. Who you guys voting for?
Haven't decided.
Same, haven't really been following it.
Same.
Same?
Same.
I'm not MAGA or anything. But the city's kind of gone to shit though, right?
Oh yeah. Jessica stepped on a needle at the playground the other day.
I'm not MAGA or anything though. I'm not MAGA or anything, but have you been downtown lately? Looks like an episode of The Walking Dead. Not that I'm MAGA or anything though.
Spencer Pratt seems like he has some good ideas. Not that I'm MAGA or anything. He does seem really angry all the time though.
Well, they did burn his house down.
Also, apparently he's staying at the Bel Air Hotel, not the trailer on his property.
Well, yeah. They burned his house down.
Okay, we're all adults here. How about on 3, we just say who we're voting for? 1, 2, 3.
Spencer Pratt. Yeah. Spencer Pratt.
Spencer Pratt. Can you imagine if our wives knew?
We're all voting for Spencer Pratt, right? Of course. Obviously. I wish I could vote, like, yesterday.
Do you have the #1 runaway bestseller as part of your homesteading library? Introducing the Food Forest Bible, How to Create a Food Forest, Sustainable, Self-Managing, Natural Food Production for Self-Sufficiency and Food Security. We all know the system is broken, but food, sovereignty, and survival are up to you. Will you comply or defy their plan for us all? You will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy, or so the system says. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure, natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible, this bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality, full-color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once, and have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your family for decade after decades. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres. The Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, or softcover. Buck the system. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system. Get your copy of the runaway bestseller, The Food Forest Bible, How to Create a Food Forest, Sustainable, Self-Managing, Natural Food Production for Self-Sufficiency and Food Security. Now.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. Listen, it's going to be one of those times again where you get to ask the question, you decide where the program goes. Hey folks, welcome to the program. Anytime I do an Ask Me Anything, it's just so I stay directly connected with you, what you're thinking about, what you want to talk about, etc. So this is your time to ask your question. If you're on like X or Twitch or Rumble, etc., I can see them easily. Some I can put on the screen. So it's just about asking your questions. This is more just a conversation of what's going on. I'll answer them as I see them. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco, right? All I'm asking you to do is to literally go to jovanlovesgold.com. That's it, jovanlovesgold.com. Request your free gold and silver kit today because now's the time to protect your money with gold and silver. It's about feeding your brain, folks. Get your brain fed. And so ask your questions about any crap. Call me on crap if you think I've gone crappy. This is where you get to ask me anything. Share this program right now. We'll get started right after this.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with a septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! Fuck around and find out what that is!
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you. Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, it's Ask Me Anything, and I guess I asked for it when I say Ask Me Anything. And there's some really good questions flying around. I might as well take just the oddest one there is. I think it was UFO Pirate on Rumble said, Jovan, how many women have you slept with? First off, I want to know, and I'll answer you honestly. First off, I want to know, how many do you think? How many do you think? Right? I got asked the question. Come on, how many women have you slept with? Kelsey says 6. How many do you think? Tina says 69. Right? How many do you actually think? Me, you know me, right? Etc. Let me think here for a minute. Somebody said 16. Let me think here for a minute. maybe 14. You would probably think a lot. Maybe 14. Yeah. More than my dad? No. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And yes, it's nobody business but your own, but I don't mind answering that. Why? Because you would think something totally different. M- 14 maybe. Right? And I had to go back in my mind. I don't keep data on that, but I kind of had to think about it. Right? And somebody said, Kitty says, wow, only 14. You would think with the way I talk and play and stuff that I would, rack up a huge number. You would also think that my personality be a huge number. But I actually kind of, very interesting, I take it serious. But there's two categories because I can separate love and I can separate sex, and they're two different things, right? I didn't count sheep. Sheep don't count. That's what the first girl I had sex with, that's what her mom said to me. Stop. No. So think about it. It's not really what you would think. Now, don't get me wrong. I would throw down with the best of them. Don't get me wrong. I've been in rooms where there were at least that many people having sex with other people, but I wasn't. But hey, I'm an interesting anomaly. An interesting anomaly. How many high school dates do you think I went on? 2. 2. And that was my last year of high school. Isn't that weird? 2. It wasn't a thing in my family. When I say it wasn't a thing in my family was really just weird. But remember, my oldest sister was kidnapped when she was in the 3rd grade. She was abducted. And so what it did is kind of lock down the family unit. And don't get me wrong, I was Mr. Jock and all this other stuff, mega athlete, but it just wasn't my family dynamic was really, really odd. Anyway, that's me, but don't get me wrong, right? When I first heard you're going to become whatever you think about, whatever you inherently think about all the time, you will become, like in the business world, I thought, oh shit, I'm going to turn into a woman. Don't get me wrong. I'm the most horn dog there is. But my count, right? I counted my older neighbor. I did. Yes, I counted my older neighbor. Breaking! This isn't good. Let me share with you what's not good. It's called posting your links in my stream. Bot motherfucker, you gone. Okay. So let's talk about, can you hear the baby ducks in the background? They got upset because my voice raised. Hear that? Pecking ducks. These are the meat ducks. 6 little bitty ones, not sitting too far from my feet, but it's weather, right? UFO pirate. How old was it when I lost my virginity? Geez, UFO pirate. Ten. Remember, I was sexually abused in the 5th grade by 2 teachers. Wasn't by my choice. Maybe that's what kind of changed me a little bit, where I could have this huge deviant nature, but not actually act on it in a way you think I would act on it. Okay, let's go back, right? Yeah, you can hear the little ducks in the background setting off. Heard my voice going, it's like, come get me, come get me, come get me. right? Should I grab one? Hang on. So I thought it was my voice, but here's what it was. Somehow this little guy hopped out of his box. And it was like, I can't get back in. And it was running around on the floor. It's okay. How you doing? I know. And you see when they turn their head sideways, they're really eyeballing you. I know. Okay. Let me go put this little guy back with his brothers and sisters. Be right back. Hold on. Forgive me for that. But he would, you can hear he's quiet now, or she's quiet. Pekin ducks. People look at them and think Peking. Let me show you what it look like when they're adult. Let me pull up one picture. Hang on. Oh, come on. I with family were farmer and ranchers. I mean, literally. And here you go. This is what that little fellow will look like. Sharing my screen. And here. And there you go. That's a Pekin duck. They grow incredibly fast. These are the big meat breeds, right? That really, really bulk up. They're not jumpers. They're waddlers. I use them for tending the gardens. You raise this particular breed because, I mean, water's fine, but they don't really care about it. But you literally can raise them in your gardens. They won't jump up in your beds in the garden. And they'll eat bugs galore. Snails, all that stuff that eats your cabbage or whatever. These guys wipe them out. Anyway, sorry about that, but it was interesting. I thought it was my voice, but that's it. And I know you're saying, I could never eat that. I think the thing about farming and ranching families is everything has to carry its weight. That's what you have to learn. Everything has to carry its wait, everything has to, etc. Right? And so that's what you have to have is a mentality. You also have to have a mentality, even if part of your livestock's pets. One of my most favorite pets, goat named George. Like a dog. Got his hip broke. With another horned goat, I guess got his leg caught and it snapped George's hip. There was no way to fix it for George, but I can't let him run around with a broken hip. He'd basically get infected, rot from the inside out. And you have to deal with it. And what's the deal with it? I had to put a bullet in his head. Because that's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. Emu chick has the crested beacons. Means they have a little top feather of hat. Anyway, let's get to your questions. My eyes are a little off because of my allergies this morning. And let me see. Montana fan wants to know on the program that we just did with Ivan Reichlin, did we get satisfactory answers? I'll let you answer that. My answers were pretty specific, but I agree with you. It's kind of odd to come with your own agenda when you're asked a direct question. And some people, you got to let them speak. No. Here is the question. I don't need you to go back to COVID on this crap. Here's the question. Just answer the question. Like, are you saying President Trump doesn't follow the Constitution? Did we get answers? Right? Did we get answers? Some say I wasn't sure. Some said kinda. Some said nope. Some say not what I heard. Some say not really. I think we got talking points. I do agree with that. Now, don't get me wrong. Ivan's a likable, personal fellow. And I've told you, you can literally work with people you don't like. I don't have that issue. And you have to admit it takes a lot of ability or balls or whatever to whatever. I shuffle like an old man. Actually, what you think is shuffling like an old man, if you had to see what I had to get through studio-wise to get around, then you'd understand my shuffle. But that's it. Let me see let me go back to the other questions. Where did it go? I saw a bunch of questions. Now they're passing by. Yep. Okay, said you like Ivan. Hope he comes. I hope he comes back. What did I learn? Well, yes, he brought his own agenda and talking points. Somebody actually got upset at me, one of you that are regularly participating. Well, let him speak. I'm not going to let it go into a talking point that has nothing to do with the question that was asked. Okay? I don't think that's. I mean, you hate it, and people that do interviews ask a question and somebody answers a totally different question. I don't respect that, right? And so since I don't respect that, the answer wasn't for me. I'll give you my answer, and I'll say the same thing in front of Ivan. You heard me say it. You're a political operative, and you're regurgitating a Democrat dim bull BS story. Knock it off. I have no problem calling it like it is like that. But Ivan was my guest last night, just, Ivan Reichlin. But here's what I learned. Okay? Here's what I learned. Ivan's open in salvo when he accepted his, what are those squiggly lines by your name? Well, that's a direct shot at the Hebrew on my profile. Ivan, if you read all his bios, is a polyglot. Polyglots are people that know 4 or more languages. I just take that as a matter of fact. If that's his bio, that's his bio. You saw me test it, right? His Russian was impeccable, which I understand, right? But he knew that my profile includes Hebrew. He knew that. He says, what's all that squiggly stuff? Now, what he says, well, it was just to stimulate conversation. No, it wasn't. But when you hang out with somebody who is decidedly the Holocaust didn't happen, I got questions. When you yuck it up about the Jews and the money, Miriam Adelson, all this other stuff, I got further questions. When he wanted to go back and talk about it was only that number there, you know, the number was big and it was from the Jews and I have the real numbers. That's doubling and tripling down. When he keeps on saying, well, she's from Palestine. She's from Palestine. I would put Ivan in the category that he has a problem with Jews, which is exactly why I was in that room, which is exactly why he was yucking it up with those guys. I understand that. And that is Ivan as a grown man is right. 100% right. Okay? Does that mean I'm Ivan's buddy? Or even that we could go into literal war together? No. Do I buy that Ivan's particular retirement package as a colonel and or disability that he's been on for 20 years supports his life in Northern Virginia? No. So Ivan's a political operative. I understand what Ivan is, and I understand where he appears. When you see the people he appears with and who he's regular on their speaking circuit, whatever, I understand what his agenda is. Right? It's okay. Do I personally trust Ivan? No. And I haven't for a very long time. And I told you before the program, you're probably going to find out things you don't like when you find out why Ivan was in Arizona speaking to the Senate and not me. He was a exceptionally big part of that, executing agenda for the Arizona lawmakers, convincing, exact words, well, the lawmakers won't show up if you have Jovan there giving his research. You see, and I told you, you're going to find out things you don't like. I've known for years that Ivan was the one that worked with them to make sure that they didn't bring in my evidence. I don't excuse that, do you? I told you. You will find out things you do not like. But I can have these discussions. And it's okay. And I asked the question, I wanted answers. Why are you saying stuff that are literally Democrat talking points? Now, he deflected pretty well with Dalvo. Well, they're copying what I said. No, don't do that shit. He knew, you watched it when I said, stop your agency training because I actually know how you're trained. Knock it off. Well, you're just jealous. That's all Darbo. That's all classic training, exactly where he was trained in the intelligence community. I get it. I understand it. But I can also understand people, if that's the path they chose, that's their path. So I don't consider Ivan a election integrity hero. Ivan is a political operative. period. Which means Ivan is going to repeat what he's been told, is going to push a narrative he's been told, or anything he has a narrative behind it. But when you can't answer directions and you lead people, sorry, now we got the audio back online. Sorry, it took a moment. So I understand Ivan. I understand Ivan. I don't have time or tolerance or background for that. So can I acknowledge he served our country? Yes. Do I think he's serving our country right now? I think you see a lot of stuff that looks like he's serving our country, but when you really understand he's on the side of undermining Trump, I can't respect that. I can't respect to somebody, well, I just do it to generate conversation. Well, that's kind of ironic, because when you post it online and say it, nobody's talking about you. You're not generating conversation. When the two of us did it, we generated conversation. So that's it. But that doesn't mean I don't like Ivan. I would just tell you, and Ivan knows this. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. When he says, I have disconnects when he said, my glasses are filthy. I have disconnects when he says, well, Pete Hegseth went to Kentucky and he violated the Hatch Law. And I show him here, no, it's not. And what did he say? Well, look, I documented the evidence. I documented everybody there. I documented the people that were. Well, what does that tell you about Ivan? He didn't say observed. It tells you actually Ivan's motive. I can guarantee you this thing about Hatch Act violated will become an issue in talking circles. And you're going to hear people say, well, when they got evidence, we got this. That's Ivan. But it's going to be Dem saying it. I have a problem with that. Remember when he said, well, you can just change your electors. You know, all the people got sued over the different elector swap that was just done procedurally incorrect, all this other stuff. He really didn't want to talk about that. But even the last one, well, you don't have to have your electors vote for who the public elects. Well, that was Ivan. But what state did it? Virginia. The Dems just did it. That's Ivan's consultative advice, where the Dems wrote executive or into law that if their state votes for somebody, that the electors have the right to say it's going to be somebody else. What does that tell you? If everybody from every recommendation, from every little action, all those guys went to jail, just like all I did an Antifa call, everybody got sued, I don't trust that. I know some of you are asking me about other people. I'm 1,000% patient and let it unfold. But you can bet, if I'm going to call somebody out and go to that extent, which is why a lot of them won't come on, my homework's done. And there's a lot of people that blame Israel. There's a lot, listen to my words, are chosen exceptionally carefully. There are a lot of people in back-end groups that talk regularly and dialogue how it's Israel's fault. And then you will see it pop up months later as themes in broadcast. I don't cotton to that. See, I'm in a little different thing. I see who seeds these. I see who plans these. I see how it's positioned. I watch the debates go on, and then I see it rolled out as a program. I am methodical in that respect. People got upset with me. I understand that. People said, well, you didn't let him speak. You said it was going to be the platform on the topic, not what he wanted. Our topic was laid out. Here is what we're going to discuss. COVID wasn't on it. Okay? So, you hear this thing, Zionist. Here's the question. Jovan, what's a Zionist? Zionist is a word that's been weaponized. Here is all it means. Okay? Here is all it means. God promised the people of Israel the return to their own lands. Got it? Return to their own lands. It is the only 100% congruent place since biblical times. Next closest might be Ethiopia. Zionism means that you believe Israel has the right to be a state and to control its own destiny. It basically means you have a right to be about your people and your nation and control your destiny. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you a Zionist? You want your own freedom. We're fighting for our nation right now. We are fighting for our right to exist and to have our nation and be free. If you're in this fight, you're a fucking Zionist. But you got to understand, just like MAGA, now MAGA's a dirty word. I'll play that video for you because it's great. Watch this video again real quick. Hang on. Because it tells the story of, well, I'm not MAGA. It's because they made it a dirty word. Watch.
This mayor race is really heating up. Who you guys voting for? Haven't decided?
Same, haven't really been following it.
Same. Same.
Same.
I'm not MAGA or anything.
But the city's kind of gone to shit though, right?
Oh yeah. Jessica stepped on a needle at the playground the other day.
I'm not MAGA or anything though. I'm not MAGA or anything, but have you been downtown lately? Looks like an episode of The Walking Dead. Not that I'm MAGA or anything though.
Spencer Pratt seems like he has some good ideas. Not that I'm MAGA or anything. He does seem really angry all the time though.
Well, they did burn his house down.
Also, apparently he's staying at the Bel Air Hotel, not the trailer on his property.
Well, yeah. They burned his house down.
Okay, we're all adults here. How about on 3, we just say who we're voting for? 1, 2, 3.
Spencer Pratt. Yeah. Spencer Pratt.
Spencer Pratt. Can you imagine if our wives knew?
We're all voting for Spencer Pratt, right? Of course. Obviously. I wish I could vote like yesterday.
So, brilliant ad. Because MAG is now a dirty word. But what's another dirty word the system has created? Zionist. Now, I want you to understand what all this means and why that word got weaponized. Right now, there is a battle to kill the Christian faith, and it's on multiple fronts. Direct impact from Muslims, direct impact from the atheist Satanist crowd. Okay. And direct impact from trying to convince you Jews are bad. Now, I've always told you, and it was part of the discussion I wanted to have with Ivan, who is a Catholic, you take Israel, the Jews, everything Israel out, you don't have a Bible left. You have almost 0 words left, even in your own faith. But see, I don't think people understand Zionism is part of that. But I'll give you an analogy that might help you understand it. In archaeology, when you find something incredibly ancient, like Romans in America, archaeology does not want to admit it. They don't want the discovery coming to a light of day. And I'll tell you how it works. A few years back, there's a street building project going, a road building project going on in a state. When they're digging the road, they crack open basically this kind of side cavern thing. And in the cavern were mummies. Not people that had been mummified, but mummies, head to toe wrapped Egyptian style burial mummies with all the accoutrements in the United States of America. Now, as soon as this came out, I got a call. First thing I'm on with the sheriff and I'm on with the coroner, and I'm trying to get boots on the ground. I could not get there quick enough before it was all destroyed. And then, in that change of all destroying it, somehow the sheriff had been talked to, and the sheriff goes, that's not true. We didn't find anything. When in fact, I talked to him 6 hours before. That's the battle. Now, that battle is the battle for two things. It's America's manifest destiny, so there's no higher land claims to the Americas by foreign countries. I understand that. And then there are archaeology is not going to do it because archaeology wants to tell you what it is, and they don't want to admit that mankind traversed the world and traded a long time ago because it makes their archaeological degrees invalid. Now, this has happened many times. One of the biggest events was just outside St. Louis in the 1800s, well documented, but a cavern open, and there are hundreds and hundreds of mummies. We're not talking little squat Andes things. We're talking mummies. People freaked out. Government freaked out. What'd they do? They gathered them in the streets and burned every one of them. So this happens. Now, the reason I explain this to you is the same reason in archaeology, okay, that forever until this thing called the internet happened and they couldn't hide it anymore, they would tell you there was no King David, there was no King Solomon. Solomon was just an analogy, wasn't a real person. But luckily, a lot of those discoveries have come about in modern days, and they can't hide it anymore. But they used to hide it. Now let me tie all this together. The reason, see, our universities used to be Christian institutions. When universities became non-Christian institutions, then anything that codified the Bible, meaning proved that biblical stories were true, there is no way it's going to see the light of day. So they couldn't have foundation in archaeology saying, well, shit, King Solomon, King David was a real guy. Couldn't have it. And so they would suppress it. Well, that same war that's been going on forever, and I could tell you even more and more and more and more and more, still goes on to this day, but it's a little bit different type of war. And so when they're telling little boys, cut off your wiener, you'll be a girl. Little girl, cut off your boobies, you'll be a boy. That is to defy God, that God made mistakes. Part of this God made mistakes is to kill the family unit, to kill marriage, to kill belief, your biblical beliefs. It is a multi-pronged approach. Not only are they removing it from schools, but they got to unhook us from Israel. And they also got to make Zionism a bad thing, which is the fulfillment of God's word, that God is faithful, that God's word is true and authentic, which had happened in the case of Israel. The system can't have that. The system cannot have that because the system needs you to comply. The system cannot allow you to have a belief in a higher power than them. That's the deal. And so you asked about Zionism, right? I think Ivan didn't convince me by, I love all Jews except 3. That's bullshit. I love your work. I'm on your side. Not when you tell him, well, you really shouldn't have him. He's controversial. When it's about testimony of here's the exact facts found in Arizona. What is testimony about? Cards from China, not against the law. All this other stuff that only had to do with the machines. This is part of it. That's the battle, folks. This is older and longer than any of us. Right? It's been going, I have been fighting this battle so long. So long. If you can only just imagine how long this is. Okay? And so, Slavich, the Zionist movement, don't confuse simple names. You have the LGBT movement. People named themselves named things. And people will find excuses in everything. Well, it was the Zionist movement. It was this. It was that. Listens to people's words. It's just like Ivan said, and Pete Hetz is coming invading Kentucky. Come on. It's all a battle of words, and it's all a battle over truth or whatever, and things aren't really as they seem. But you're participating in something otherworldly, and trash. Somebody says pushing people to go places and cause problems just like Altman. Yes. So let me ask you a question on that one. You saw Ivan want to dodge it a few times. Altman was at January 6th, got people to go. People he got to go went to jail. He didn't. Colonel Sean Smith, also part of that audit team for Tina, he went right in the middle of it. Any indictments go to jail? No. So was Ivan. I can't reconcile that. Can you? I can't wrap my head around that one. Can you? But see, people don't step back. Look at all the people were there, from the Alex Jones to the Colonel Smith to Ivan and others, and look at them. But they don't get questioned or anything. To me, that's a pattern. And to me, that's a repeatable pattern. And when you look at who Ivan goes on with, hangs out on their shows, promotes, and do this, okay, that's a pattern. That's a pattern. I'm calling out the pattern. You get to decide. You get to decide what your truth is. I'm not here to decide your truth. You decide it for you. I'm just saying, you know what? If you really are America first, and you really want to see this work, you've got to fight with President Trump, not against President Trump. But I don't think you're fighting on the sign. Yes, Patrick Byrne was there, etc. A lot of people were that nothing happened to. Mark Cook. I can't reconcile these things. Why were so many people incarcerated, but high profile that told people to go, not? I can't reconcile that. And I don't want to think the worst. I don't want to think the worst, but I have a hard time. Manuel says Miriam Adelson isn't America first. Okay. Well, here, Manuel, since since you know her personally and you think she's not, let me put you on. You tell us how she isn't America first, and then you tell me what America first is. I'm here. I'll listen. You came in to chat. I'm asking you to appear. Turn on your camera. Turn on your audio. And let's chat about it. This is Ivan's point. The big donor, big donor, big money, big donor. Come on, let's discuss these things. This is how we'll learn. This is how we share. This is how we can get better. Right? Ivan's saying, she was born in 1945, and Israel wasn't a state then, so she's from Palestine. There isn't a state or a country, Palestine. Come on, Emmanuel. You say she's not America first. I want to know what your definition of American first is. Then you tell me how we accomplish it. Boom, cut. Or is it a process? Help me out. Help me out. I just want to, and see, this is why, but that's why I asked, why so quiet now? You come into chat, you say things like that. You state as fact, right? You state as fact. All I do is push back on the fact, right? And say, okay, come tell us. But you don't. Let me ask you a question. Don't you think it's kind of cowardly to pop into a chat, make a definitive statement, right? And then not defend it? And so you have a region, it's not a country. And in the Middle Eastern nomadic tribes, you see Palestine come up, but not as you think, like we have United States of America. It's not the same thing. But see, it's a technicality. So Miriam was born in Tel Aviv in 1945. So technically, was she born when there was a Jewish state? No. Does that not make her Jewish? Well, her parents were from Poland. They left Poland to go back to the Holy Land. That's her actual background. Polish Jews who were being decimated during the Holocaust and split back to the homeland to save themselves. But you understand when you say, well, she was Palestine, plays into the other factor that Palestine is actually a state that exists, and you have to acknowledge Palestine, when it was a Roman territory name for a mixed ad group of people. That's all I'm saying. But that's why material facts, if you well, no, she's a Palestine. It's all wordplay. It's all wordplay. That's the war. That's the war. And these are the things that I want to discuss, and I know you'll have a lot of questions. Hang on. Let's see what else. Say Montana fan, a Jew donates, then it's a problem. But somebody who's finished donates, no big deal. See, it's selective outrage. Selective outrage. And in politics, I have a problem with they use all of these just weird things that people that think, oh, it's just gripping. Oh my God, they're gonna they're trying to expose election fraud and all this other stuff, right? And look at what they exposed. Well, let me ask you a question. I really didn't get to play the whole thing last night. But let me ask you a question. Here's one of them. Here's my question. You present yourself to testify as an election integrity expert. You're called in to testify before the Senate and reps in Arizona. Okay, what the hell really happened in 2020, and how did it happen? You follow that? That's the only premise I'm asking you to have. That's the only premise and filter I am asking you to have. We're going to see these hearings. They're going to get down to what exactly happened in 2020. And please remember, they knew coming in what would be found if I looked at the paper, which is exactly why the lawmaker called me and offered me $10 million in a foreign account, because they don't want to see people go to jail, and they're all buddies and their kids go to school together. You know how it works. They just put $10 million in a foreign account. Would they do that because I'm of no consequence? Would they do that if it couldn't be found in the paper when my job was only to look at the paper? Of course they wouldn't do that. So now I ask you a question, and this was some of the points I wanted to get to on Ivan is, okay, if in fact you're called to Arizona and you're all of a sudden an election expert, right? Let me see if this is it.
Follow-up question.
You're all of a sudden an election expert, okay? Now, here's the premise. What happened in the 2024 election?
Follow-up question, Senator Borelli, and
Yes.
then I have a question after that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Colonel. So, electronic systems.
Remember, Borelli, Wendy, Pedersen, three lawmakers, all on here is the legal findings list. Here are the results. All of them got signed FedEx deliveries. All of them have telemetry in them. The moment they're watched, we get a ping back. You would be appalled if I ever released the true list of people that don't watch or look at the evidence at all. And they're sitting here after having all the evidence, and look where Borelli goes.
Follow-up question, Senator Borelli, and
Yes.
then I have a question after that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Colonel. So, electronic systems, computers, stuff like that. DOD would not allow a motherboard manufactured in China to have a internal mini PCI slot for wireless card and password jumper that allows for the removal of reset bio passwords, incorporates the we would not allow any of that equipment in DOD, especially in our aircraft. Any kind of electronic equipment made in China.
You would hope that that would be the case, but what is the mechanism to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, Madam Chair, right. So if we had a computer component, a microchip or something like that in a military aircraft, that aircraft would be down, correct?
If the federal government wants to do that and doesn't really shore up its supply chain, what do we have? It's really on the state legislatures to make sure, especially in the systems that you have plenary power over, to make sure that risk doesn't even exist.
Well, Madam Chair, to that point, the point I'm trying to make here is I have an Appendix 4 from sworn affidavits have been filed in several state courts. Country of manufacture or origin of voting system components. It's a list of all this stuff. Like I said, I mentioned that motherboard is the PRC. Wouldn't that be the People's Republic of China?
Absolutely. I've seen that document that you're referring to, Senator Borelli.
Let me see. We have
I think it's retired Colonel Sean Smith, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That gave that testimony.
Got this is. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but these things were final assembly in the People's Republic of China, manufactured in Republic of China. That's one voting system, and then I'm seeing another voting system. All this stuff made in China, People's Republic of China. Here's another voting system that we use in Arizona. Same thing. And none of these components, if we can't use it in DoD standards for our own aircraft, we shouldn't be, or even our own banking system can be suspect on that. But here's a motherboard. This is all these pieces. We've heard testimony before from computer experts as a microchip that you wouldn't even notice if it's already manufactured to do a certain thing. We will never see it, any kind of manipulation through the system. So would you say it's a fair assessment that we should not be using anything made from a country that wants to do us harm should be used in our electronic or our voting system?
Not to be disrespectful, but it is a rhetorical question, sir, in the sense that absolutely not. We do not need to be using that. Every state needs to have a policy that essentially lists and incorporates some of this information. These are the countries that the state of Arizona is not going to allow supply chains within the state of Arizona. Obviously, interstate commerce is a function of the federal government, but when it comes to within state activity, I think the legislature has full authority to say, you know what, we're not going to have anything from the following state and non-state actors in terms of supply chain.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So I might also point out, even Joe Biden agrees in his Build Back Better plan. He said, made in America. We need to have components made in America. I think we should do that for our electronic system, voting systems.
I would agree. Yes, sir.
So let me ask you a question. What exactly in that dialogue was about the 2020 full forensic audit in Maricopa and the findings? Put it in chat. Was there anything in there about Maricopa in the 2020 audit. Not a single bot. Is Ivan qualified to answer on anything in technology? No. Ironically, the report comes from the machine team for Mike Lindell. It makes it in, and it's Colonel Sean Smith again. Did any of that? There was absolutely nothing in that had to do with Arizona. This is part of what I wanted to dialogue with Ivan. I already know that Borelli and Wendy and him and Wirt not going to have Jovan. And it was Ivan who told Liz Harris, they're not going to attend if you have Jovan. That's Ivan putting the kibosh on Liz Harris. Let's see if this one, I don't know if this is the same one. I might have to go through a few. Hang on.
Follow-up question, Senator Borelli, and
Yes.
then I have a question after that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Colonel. So, electronic systems, computers.
That was the same one again. They ironically have the same timestamp. So let me see this one.
First question is from Senator Borelli.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Colonel. I'm retired, also military, and
I want you to listen to this. Tell me what this has to do with it. Tell me how this applies to the Arizona audit.
First question is from Senator Borelli.
yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Colonel. I'm retired, also military, and I'm a bit older than you, so when the Cold War era timeframes in, during the Cold War, the big threat was MAD, mutually assured destruction, and once that Cold War was that aspect of mutually assured destruction was quelled because of Ronald Reagan and the wall coming down and stuff like that, and we know about this shift, the change on the concept of warfare, changed economically to MED, mutually economic destruction. So that way, if all the components are not playing ball with each other, that one of the principles, the other principles will close it down. It's basically a big conglomerate. And so with your assessment of saying that Russia, China, and Iran, all the colluding, coordinating, for example, Russia and, well, actually China wants to be the big economic dog in the park. That's what's kind of driving this, some people call it the shadow government, some we call it the swamp, whatever you want to call it, but globally, this is what we're dealing with, correct? Is that what you say?
Absolutely, if I may. So the reason being is that for China, they're trying to have international relations kind of theory 101 is essentially, as a nation, you first try to create sovereignty. Once you get your house in order, then you try to have influence regionally, and then after that, you want to have global hegemony. And we've, fortunately, over the course of my lifetime, I would argue up until literally January of 21, we were in that pole position as the global leader up until a few years before that, in diplomacy, in information reach throughout the globe, military capability, and economics. That has shifted over the last several years. Diplomatically, China has more embassies and consulates throughout the world than the United States. So if that's a key indicator, which it is for me, and because they're also a member on the Permanent Security Council, I think the tiebreak goes at this point to China. And I hate to say that because, like yourself, Senator Borelli, we serve. Same thing with you, Senator Rogers. And so it pains me to say that, but this is exactly what I think is going on. And then information landscape, there really are no privacy laws in China, and they also have 1.4 billion sensors, right? Whoever has one of these or a phone, that's a sensor, and all these different devices. So they feed the big data machine, and then it helps to adjust and increase the capability of their AI systems to move towards from just what we call narrow AI, narrow artificial intelligence, to artificial general intelligence, where they will have a sentient system that can outperform at a minimum any human in any endeavor, and probably humanity in the collective. And so that's what we're facing. It's a national security threat. And so when you have systems, electoral systems, on any machinery, the risk is so great, it's astronomical, because you can do it at scale with literally a flip of the switch, especially when you have more supercomputing power, when you have the AI capability. And so I'm not sure we're in a position to counter it in the digital fight at this point, especially with our national security apparatus that is literally, I laid out. They're working in some instances against the constitutional order.
Now, look how much time was dedicated to that regarding what happened in 2020. What were the discoveries? Was there anything in there, and I have so many of that, so much time with it, that had anything to do with the Arizona audit? Anything. You're probably wise enough to see all they're doing is pushing the machines, China interference, Russia interference. I could show you so many examples of this. This is why I'm a danger to the system, why they freak out, because I push back and tell you the truth. They're on a mass mission for a narrative so nobody gets in trouble. That's the system. Was there anything in there that had to do with Arizona? Anything? Borelli's dumber than a fucking stump. My sir, call him a gunny. Borelli's such a chicken shit that in order to find out what I knew, he had somebody else call me, ask me questions while he's sitting in the room, never acknowledging or saying anything so he could legally have plausible deniability he ever talked to me or heard from me. Now, they don't like that I call it for what it is, but you call a hearing, do grandstanding. It's run on the conservative networks, going to figure out what happened in 2020. You expect the paper evidence to come in because you have it and know it. The hammer that did it for the system was Ivan pushing Borelli's, Peterson's, Wendy Rogers thing, letting Liz believe, because it was her hearing, she legally got it. No, they're not even going to, you won't even have a hearing. They won't show up. That was the extortion that went on. This is something that happened in 23. It kind of shows you how patient I am. But you can see it for yourself. So many people don't go backwards. But that's not what Ivan wants to explain. When I asked Ivan the question about what he said, he knew I had him hands down. But that's not what Ivan wants to talk about. That's Darvo. That is what I stopped. Don't dissemble and divert and go somewhere else and redirect. I'm not going to allow it. To some people who don't understand what they're looking at, well, you kept on interrupting, you wouldn't let them speak. I'm not going to let them hijack your mind. Go back to that point, answer that question. But you have to understand, when you keep on hearing that thing about China and Russia and the machines and this and that, there was no meat there whatsoever. That was basically political fellatio and not even enjoyable. This is what I have an issue with. Because, period, and yes to some of the questions you asked, yes, which is why I told Ivan, I know you're training, I know how you were trained, put it aside. This is why when you saw the person who wanted me to sit on a jagged stick did the same thing. Oh, you don't even know what an artifact is. What is an artifact? It's all a tactic. I understand those tactics. But we're here to get answers for our country. And there are so few that really want to see our country okay. Because, see, they actually think they can make it better okay if they're in control. They, too, don't care about your freedom. They, too, don't care about your freedom. Yes, Berger's testimony wasn't about the audit, but it was about the money laundering. I told you that was some of the most brilliant stuff that Liz brought to be, right? But see, they set Liz up from the beginning. Oh, that wasn't this, and that wasn't that, and that wasn't this. I'll explain that one to you. The money laundering occurs in the mortgages. That's a brilliant piece of work. Liz knew it. Thayer, is that his name? Had the information, knew how to look it up. Now, he had a personal axe to grind with his ex-wife, but who knew that Thayer discovered it? Mark Fincham. Mark Fincham knows this is coming. Mark Fincham introduces Liz Harris to the information. So she'll put it in this hearing, and then they politic Liz. You probably shouldn't have Thayer, remember, you got to have somebody speak for him. So he gets his girlfriend to speak for him. They did that on purpose. So then they could then make it look like it was about his ex-wife. This is his wife-to-be. This is disgruntled. It was all set up from the beginning. They knew. And they knew this was going to come out. And that's why you saw Ken Bennett's face. They knew. That was, during that hearing, which is about the Arizona audit, what has to be fixed? Only one thing got fixed. One thing. As soon as the real estate racket was busted, in 1 week, they had new laws on the book that public officials' real estate holdings records, right? Records have to be sealed. That's the only move they made. They work to put stuff in and to discredit it. To this day, Fincham, but I have all the records, won't even said that's how they seeded it in and that's how they killed it. They seed it and kill it in the same process. Playing a friend. I don't trust any of them. Any of them. But where did they take the dialogue? It's the machines. It's the circuit boards. Now, they're trying to hedge their bets. Oh, yeah, it's the voter rolls, mail-in ballots, but it's the circuit boards. They know you've been educated. That's why I'm in danger. But that's why I get attacked. That's why I get suppressed. Folks, I'm on nobody's side, except will our country survive? You can hate me. You can hate my foul mouth. You can hate my Jewish ass. But if I do my job and we save America, then I've also helped save it for even people that hate me. They're not carved out. They're not set aside. All these rat bastards that do nothing, they're not carved. We just save it. That's all this is about. Government can subpoena anything. Government has everything. It still is who's going to talk about it. What is going to be shown? People talk, oh, did you see this fellow counterfeit ballots and images? Those are my images, my team's work from my forensic audit design. They let one person talk about it, but he talks about it in the wrong context. Intentionally. Why? See, the reality is this isn't split along party lines, political lines, or anything. My team's work is agnostic. I can't change the results. There's only one witness. Only one witness, and it's the only witness in the world that speaks for you. You cast your ballot. What was the state of the ballot when they said it came in? And when did they process it? The paper doesn't lie. I don't have to make up a 6-degree polynomial on a 2010 census and 10,000 door knocks. I just have to ask, hey, 2 million ballots, tell me what you identify as. The reason they avoid it like the plague is because we caught them. China didn't do this to us. Russia didn't do this to us. Venezuela or Serbia didn't do this to us. There's two culpable. Our government did this to us. And we did it to us because we never paid attention, me included. There's no theory here. It is what it is. But I warned you with that interview, and you asked a lot of questions about that interview. I said, things are going to come out you're not going to like. Because when certain things come out, people you think are heroes are doing things, you see how it's not really what you think it is. Because there's politics involved. It's political. It's become political. I wish it was different. I wish it was different. But it's also why I tell you, you got to get your ass out of the system. That's the only freedom you have. You got to cut as much of your life out of the system as you can. When I say system, you got to wean yourself off the grocery store. You got to wean yourself off of credit cards. You got to wean yourself off a lot of things because they're all tentacles. They're all tentacles. Somebody says, it's the big question. It's going to come out. It is out. Do you not understand why they're pushing so? Do you not understand why they put so much effort in? Well, it's Serbia. We learned from a super secret protected whistleblower of whistleblower. Let me get this straight. Dennis Montgomery, CIA shill shit, can't testify, protected. Doffing speaking whatever dude for Tina Peters. Oh, no, can't testify. Oh, Venezuela, it's the guys, but it's a can't testify, it's super secret former. You don't understand. The information's out. It's what you do with it, not what I do with it. It's what you do with it. It's what the American people do with it. But every time you go to a little pizza party and they have the normal cast of characters, well, and this polynomial degree, and in my poll, and let me tell you about, you can't verify my background, but I'm a tech guy, really a tech guy. Let me tell you about the cards. If you're not pushing back and say, stop this bullshit and get down to the fucking ballot, the only thing that brings a felony. But see, you're not even doing that. Why? You may think you're pushing back, but we're not protesting back. We're not shutting them down. We're not going 1,000 doors knocked in Colorado, a poll, 2010 census data, not the math is not on your side, and you keep on shoveling this shit. And then you turn from those guys, wait a minute, our leaders here, Republican leaders here, why'd you bring this person in? What are you trying to sell us instead of realizing it's the fucking voter rolls that generate that ballot? But I've always told you, I've been candid with you, we're in a war. We're in a war. And you're right. So many people don't want to get involved. Citizens of Arizona, well, they'll fry me if I sue. They'll give us death threats. That's the game. That's why the information must survive. That's why the Arizona Full Forensic Archives are precious historic information. Because they've conned anybody. If you speak out, if you're suing it, we're going to fry you. We're going to run it out of town. It's all manipulation. So what's the only thing that's standing left to prove empirically what happened in 2020? The historical documents of fact. That's the ballots and what was their state. meaning what was their state of what they were in. That's it. That's it. Somebody writing code for an election company in Serbia is not a crime. Let's take that bullshit discussion about Chinese motherboards and this, and I don't think it should have it in elections. Well, I'll tell you what, Sonny dumbass Gunny Borelli, let's just take out the Chinese chips. You fucking wouldn't have been on a video screen, you idiot. It's in everything. That's what the system did to us. You won't be on TV. You won't be able to mug. You won't be able to raise money. You won't have your fucking mobile phone. You won't have computers. Your car won't fucking work. You ignorant dumbass. But I'm a gunny and I'm a military and he was and she was. That should tell you. She was too. Look at all of us up here telling you what's right. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. Well, as a DOJ, that wouldn't be right. Fucking DOJ has them. But see, it sounds good to Americans. They think you're smart because you're a lawmaker. I think it's up. I think you're a dumb puppet fuck because you're a lawmaker. That's all it says to me. Let's get you out in the real world. They know this. Part of what they know is in the audit system that our team created, it's designed to work in real time. See, that's what they don't want you to know. I can take everything we learned with all our 25 techniques, and it can literally be incorporated into the system and can't be undone, and it all audits itself in real time. That's why they don't talk about it. They got to keep it mysterious and unknown. They got to keep the racket going. They got to have the state sign a big multi-million-dollar contract to pay $90,000 a piece for a $352 computer. I told you a long time ago, the game is fatigue. They've got to wear us out. They got to wear these out. Committees are bullshit. Committees are total bullshit. But see, they have to. Right. So, yeah, Scott Pulitzer. Scott Pulitzer is an election integrity hero. No, his father is a Republican operative, and Scott was paid supposedly $12 million to do what he did, tell you to bank the ballot. Don't vote on election day. They'll be run out of paper. You hope they do that. That actually proves the case. It's all a con. But he's nice. He's sweet. He's done so much. Which so much? Yeah, I think it's great he picks up trash. I always say, what do you suggest we do? Learn the truth, share the truth, learn how it works. I'll give you an easy one. I'm going to give you two choices. The machines changed the votes. We saw 100,000 votes come out of nowhere, and it was Serbia and Venezuela. That's one side. Or someone like me can tell you the following. In Maricopa County, Arizona, in the numbers they didn't report, they put it off for 16 months, supposed to have it in within 30 days. Any ballot that was mailed, that's called a ballot packet. Any of the packets that were mailed that went to a home where it was no such person, no such names, no such address, no such number, deceased, those are called the 5 duns. That ballot packet comes back to the county. That is supposed to be preserved, period, for 2 years. And the county is supposed to notify the voter, hey, your ballot packet came back. How do they do it? Mailing a postcard to the same motherfucking address. How stupid is that, right? But Maricopa refused to give the numbers. When they finally came push to shove, they said there were 52,000 of them. There were over 110,000 of them. 110,000 of them. Extracting the number of returns from the post office. That's a true number. Now, the county's supposed to keep them. So I talked to the county. Where are those ballot packets? We let Runbeck have them. Talk to Runbeck. Where are those ballot packets? Well, we destroyed them. They told us to destroy them, which, by the way, is a violation, $1,000 fine, no big deal. But when you have the ballot packet, what do you have? You open it up. It's called ballot cracking. You pull out the ballot. You pull out the security envelope. You watch the numbers. Now it's by county. You organize them by county because they're all sorted. Do the vote. Scribble it in real quick. Scribble a signature. Put it in the secure envelope and pass it to the ballot mules. And they run it around town, dropping it off, getting paid. So what do you need to make that hack work? You need the ballot inventory, and you need to not check the signatures. What did they do? They didn't check the signatures, and all of those were missing. Now, that is a legal ballot voted illegally. Did the machine change the vote? No. That's how this works. That's part of it. That's part of it. That's why they did the things they did. What does that have to do with China, Serbia, Venezuela, or the machines? Nothing. When the county recorder is sitting there, right, and Shaggy and Scooby-Doo are cross-examining, well, don't you mean you don't pick up ballots at the election center? What did the county say? No, we don't. Well, where'd the ballots go then? You pick up the ballots at the elections at the precinct? No, we don't. Why did all that testimony go to shit? Because the county was telling the truth. They get a digital card, or they pick up the ballot packets that are in a little box outside, but they never pick up ballots. And you see how that word game's played? All word games. All word games. Did they give you a trial you could watch on TV? They did. Who testified? A pollster. Well, I asked people outside, and the numbers don't jive. Can you put anybody in prison based on polls? No. There was no widespread evidence of fraud. Who proved widespread? We did. Let me tell you why. All the chain of custody, we chart every one of them. We show every signature every day, all the people, places, and things. Everything was fine except maybe two, which could have been an accident. But to get to election day, 100% of the people that signed for 28 days in a row all didn't sign, didn't fill out how many ballots. Do you think they all had the boo-boo on the same day? No. Well, see, that proves somebody gave a directive that tells you, here's every fucking person we talked to and put them under cross-examination. Here's their signature. This day, is it your signature? Yes, here's your signature. And you go through that 28 fucking times in a row and go, why on this day didn't you sign? You understand how evidence works? That's evidence. With names, with people, with places and things. And that's it. That's forensics. But see, sometimes you have to think about what the system refuses to cover. That's why I said early on, I don't give a fuck about the machines. We'd already done our homework on the legal front. Nothing's going to happen on the machines. It's all voluntary. Where have they steered all of the discussions? And so makes me sad, but that's why I say, yes, you're responsible for your own house. But you ask the question, how are we going to fix this? We've done our job. The only thing I ask you to do is to help us make sure this evidence survives. It's costly to keep it. And God bless all you wonderful people that have helped and done this and make it happen, right? But this is history. And you will have participated in basically showing it and making sure it doesn't go away. But the system's not going to acknowledge it in the way you think. It's up to us. The lawmaker ain't going to do crap. But they're going to do crap when you see the game replayed and then their back is against the wall and they now have to fight very seriously. Instead of a president when a whole system gets its ass handed to him again, right? That's how it works. And unfortunately, mankind doesn't learn until disaster. I've told this story. I'll tell it again. It was years ago, and I'm having dinner with Alan Dershowitz. It's right after the OJ trials. He made a comment at dinner that really shocked me. The most important thing to happen in policing is Nicole Simpson Browns and whatever his fellow's name is. I'm just forgetting at the moment. Why? Because the crime scene was fucked up. But see, police departments weren't practicing forensic rules, and they screwed it up. But the net effect was every police department in the world watching that televised case, knowing they had the evidence and seeing it screwed up, the people that were pushing for forensics said, we fucking told you so, and we can't afford to make this mistake. Ron Goldman, thank you. That changed history forever. This has changed history forever. You have changed history forever. Why? Because you have taken away the excuse. This is changing forever. but can you decertify an election? You cannot. There is no path. None. And it's why I tell people the most simple hacks you never get. Why? Because they want to convince you it's Serbia. They want to convince you it's China. They want to convince you it's Venezuela. You want to know what the biggest hack of all is? President Trump gets in and they can't stand his ass. So they use part of the Russia collusion. We got to put in protection, sir. We can't have these elections hacked. So they created CISA. CISA, as a defensive move, is given the authority. It's what decides if the states prosecute. It's what decides if something really happens. CISA came in 2017. They're getting ready for 2020. You see all this shit hitting the fan. You know it's fucked. But what did CISA do on the day of the election when ballots are still being counted? They came out and say this was the most secure, safest election ever. Why'd they do that? Because that one statement allowed every state not to prosecute because CISA has to declare something's wrong first. See how simple that fucking hack is? It's that simple. It's that simple. The body that was given the right to declare it went wrong, over and above governors, over and above attorney generals and all that, CISA, before even all the ballots were counted, came out and said, most secure, safest election in American history ever run. And why'd they do it? Well, they did it. They did it because, folks, they needed a way to see what was going on in the election. You're not going to change this election unless you fucking know what's going on, right? Ain't going to happen. You've got to know every vote, every moment of the day. You just got to know it. So what did they do? So you think Russia was about Trump. It was, but not Trump at that time. It was to make sure Trump didn't get a second shot. That's why they promoted Russia. Why? We got to protect ourselves. We got to be able to see all the vote counting coming on at all the time. That's why I say countdown to chaos, silent federalizing of elections. Where do you think they got the data to know they had to add in 118,019 ballots 1 month later? By surveillance of the machines. We're going to protect you. We told you in the book. We told you everything was done. Why did, for the first time in history, we go to AI adjudication, so you couldn't see the paper that was being manipulated? And why did the county, for the first time in history, move their servers to the sheriff's department? Because when you come hunting for the evidence, get the router. When do you get us the routers? We never got them. You know why? because they moved it all to the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department protected it, saying, you'll see all investigations we'll do, and we can't do that. So technically, there weren't election routers and Splunk logs. It was the sheriff's department. That was the countdown. That's how they did it. Venezuela! No. United States of America! Our own agencies! People surrounding Trump. I love you all. My allergies are kicking my butt. Let me show you something before we go, just so to remind you. We told you how this works.
Have you gotten your copy of the best-selling book, Countdown to Chaos? The Silent Federalizing of Elections? On November 3, 2020, something happened in America. Something that caused millions of citizens to stop, stare, and ask one terrifying question. What just happened to our country? That night, America watched as confusion spread across the nation. Vote counting, delays, questions, accusations, anger, silence, censorship, division. And when it was over, one thing was undeniable. America was not the same. Trust in elections was damaged. Trust in the media was shattered. Trust between citizens was pushed to the breaking point. Countdown to Chaos is not a casual read. This book will make you mad. Then it may make you sad. And then it may make you furious. But anger is not the problem. Unfocused anger is. This book takes that confusion, that frustration, and gives it direction. Because before people can act, they must first understand. Inside Countdown to Chaos, you are taken on a chronological journey through the who, what, when, where, why, and how behind the modern election system. How was the system built? Who influenced it? When did it change? Where did the power shift? Why were so many Americans left with unanswered questions? This book asks the questions many people were told not to ask. Was the chaos accidental? Was it predictable? Was it manufactured? Could anyone have known where an election was headed before the public results were called? Could election data be viewed while the process was still unfolding? Could systems be vulnerable? Could outside actors, insiders, institutions, or networks influence outcomes without the average voter ever knowing? One side shouted, the election was rigged. The other side shouted, there is no such thing as election fraud. But slogans are not answers. Mockery is not evidence. Silence is not proof. Americans deserve more than talking points. They deserve facts. They deserve timelines. They deserve documentation. They deserve the truth. Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections is a deep research dive into the questions that still haunt millions of Americans. It is carefully researched, it is presented in chronological order, and once you see the system laid out step by step, you may never look at elections the same way again. But be warned, do not open this book if you are comfortable staying asleep. Do not open this book if you cannot handle hard questions. Do not open this book if you still want the blue pill. Because once your eyes are opened, there is no going back. Get the answers, follow the timeline, see the system. Read the bestseller, Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections. Available now. Get your copy today.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Yeah.
thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ+ and trans rights. You see, I have an equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders. I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Hey, whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and you and I, we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down just.
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. It's much easier on the ears than baby murder, so kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't. We don't.
Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like, diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head de moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing!
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all!
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
The funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
HRC guy, you have been going over the top as well.
Well, it's important for us, they, them, to be accepted just like everyone else.
Yes, of course. And convincing people that they're intolerant for not wanting men to get naked in women's locker rooms. I guess that's genius. I mean, come on, it's next level stuff. All right, but insisting that your children be mutilated. I mean, come on, let's turn people off, you guys. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but until the election, can we just all pretend for a few months not to be crazed, lunatic, homicidal extremists?
Extremist? No, it's my body, my Donald J. Trump.
You will obey me. Sorry. Glad we're all on the same page, though. So, how do you do it? When I do evil stuff, it seems like nobody likes me. When you do it, everyone finds you sympathetic.
Well, see, my people are oppressed victims. So we can rape, murder, and call for genocide, and it's pretty much totally justified.
What up, America? It's Andrew Jackson, that guy you roll up to hit some powder. I founded the Democrat Party and chose the jackass as our mascot. Now, as you can probably tell, times have changed a bit from the party back in my day, and present-day Democrats will come to hate me, but that's your problem. Jackson started the Democrat Party to appeal to the common man. Democrats today sometimes give him credit for that, but only after calling him an evil white bigot. Needless to say, the party started off pretty sketchy by today's standards. We were by far the pro-slavery party all the way through the Civil War.
After the war, we cleaned up our act and supported the North's Reconstruction efforts. Totally kidding, we doubled down on racism and became the party of the Klan. But seriously, we didn't have much of a platform after the war, except Jim Crow, but that was until our boy came in hot on his rollerblades. Then came the Depression. People lost trust in markets, so I wheeled in to drastically expand communism across the country, and Democrats been hooked ever since. Up until this point, blacks had always voted Republican as they were the party that freed the slaves. But after FDR's New Deal, blacks swung 75% Democrat. This was a complete realignment, not because of civil rights, but because of economics. All while the Democrats were still the party of the Klan, and their stronghold was the South. We pushed segregation throughout the South and filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act for 75 days. It wasn't until Republicans stepped up and found even more votes to pass the bill. So ask yourself, how are Democrats seen as the party of the civil rights? Well, it's because
Democrats are very persuasive. But again, it ultimately boils down to economic incentives. Once Democrats realize the power of government spending and handouts, you can appeal to any voter group and lock them in.
1, 2, 3.
Gays for Palestine.
Good luck with that. So anyway, to sum it all up, my party has changed a shit ton, but it's not because of the mythical party switch. Democrats controlled the South all the way through the 1990s. But they did adopt new policies like massive social spending and welfare programs that allowed them to appeal to more diverse voting groups.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.